Long-time viewers of my channel will know that when it comes to weathering, I like to keep it quite light. One of the purposes of building smaller models like this is for me to experiment. So for this boat, I'm going to be weathering it quite a lot more than I usually would, and I'm going to be using some different techniques. As always, the first step for weathering is to seal in the color coat with a gloss varnish. I like to use a lacquer-based gloss varnish because that allows me to put both acrylic and oil-based weathering on top of it without having to worry about eating through that layer of varnish. Once the varnish has dried, the first thing that I'm going to do is try and liven up the deck a bit. After my first attempt of weathering and painting this boat, I did think the deck was a bit flat, too monotonal. I just want to give it a little bit of texture. To give it that texture, I'm going to paint on some different colors. Not really different colors, it's the same colors that were used in the mix for the base deck color. It's more that I'm going to mix them in different quantities and use some white to lighten it a bit. Colors that I'm using here are Revell number 5, 46 and 69, that is white, NATO olive and granite gray. While painting on these different shades of the deck color, the deck does start to look quite messy and the different colors do stand out from each other quite a lot. It doesn't look right. But at this stage, I'm not concerned about that because I will put a brown wash on top of the deck, which will harmonize all the colors. In fact, at this stage, you do need there to be quite a big difference in color for it to not be completely lost in future layers of weathering. After going through multiple layers of different shades of these colors, I then let the acrylic paint dry for a while and then dilute some brown panel line. This is not too diluted, it's about 1-to-1 panel line with solvent, and I brush it on over the whole deck just to harmonize all those acrylic colors beneath it. I am a little bit concerned that at this stage the contrast is actually not enough. After letting the brown wash dry for around an hour, I can then apply an acrylic wash on top of it. This is Vallejo 76.516 gray. This wash further harmonizes the colors on the deck and helps to bring out the detail. Moving on to the hull, I'm going to start with black panel line, but I'm going to put it on quite thick and I'm going to leave it on to dry for quite a long time so that when I go to remove it, a lot of that residue remains behind. I want it to be on quite thick. That's because it's going to be the very bottom layer of the weathering and I want subsequent layers of weathering to sit on top of it and not completely hide it. Normally when I apply black panel line, I apply it very thinned, 2-part solvent to 1-part panel line, or I apply it and then remove it after only about 20 minutes of drying. For this model, I applied unthinned black panel line over the entire boat and then left it to dry for a day. Leaving such a thick layer of panel line to dry for so long meant that it was much more tough and its removal was far more difficult. But that's good, that's what I wanted. It meant that there were all these interesting patterns that stuck to the hull in weird places that look quite dark and big but will be subdued with future layers of weathering. Now that the excess panel line has been removed, I want to preserve this layer of panel line. I don't want future layers of enamel-based weathering to remove it. So I once again seal the whole model with another layer of clear gloss lacquer varnish. Now to try something that I've never done before when it comes to weathering, and that's using oil paints. I remember watching a video some time ago where the modeler used oil paints in his weathering process, and I thought that was quite a good idea. I went to the shop and bought 4 basic colors of oil paint and put them on my workbench where they have been sitting for over a year. The colors that I bought are titanium white, lamp black, yellow ochre and burnt umber. My thinking was that the yellow ochre and burnt umber would represent different types of rust, and then you could use the black and white to lighten or darken those colors or create all sorts of different shades of gray. It seemed to me that that was the minimum set of paints that I needed to get quite a versatile set of colors to create rust and grime on ships. The primary attribute of these oil paints that I want to use is its very slow drying nature. Because the paint dries so slowly, I'll be able to blend in even very, very thin layers of this paint and allow them to mix with each other on the hull itself, creating a more natural effect. After randomly dabbing the black oil paint all over the hull, I wipe the excess off of the brush and then use the brush to blend in those harsher dots of oil paint. After the black paint, I repeat the process with the burnt umber color and then the yellow ochre color followed by white. I did it in that order to try and prevent the darker colors from completely overpowering the lighter colors. In the end, I do quite like this effect. I think it's worked quite well to break up that monotonous tone on the hull, and I can see that that black panel line underneath it has been muted a bit, but it is still showing through very nicely. One peculiarity with this boat is that the ballast tanks aren't completely submerged when the boat is surfaced. Since the top of the ballast tanks will be subjected to different weather conditions, I think it makes sense to weather them in a slightly different way to the rest of the hull. I'll still use the same oil paints, except I'm going to try and create a stripy effect on them. The idea is to try and represent the markings that the water would leave as it drains down the side of the ballast tanks. What I'm trying to do here is create a light streaking effect with oil paints. To create the effect, I place small drops of the 4 oil paints on a line along the top of the ballast tanks, and then use a brush wet with turpentine to create the streaking effect. In the end, the streaking effect is very subtle, so I might need to enhance it at a later stage. After leaving the oil paint to dry for around a day, I seal the model with another layer of clear glass varnish. That is because I want to put on another wash, this time a brown wash. The brown wash is intended to create a sort of generalized rust effect on rivets and various other panel details on the hull. I don't want this brown wash to be anywhere near as thick as that black wash, so after applying it, I wait around an hour and then I remove the excess. After the application of the brown panel line, I'm quite happy with the tonal variations in the hull. They are no longer these solid homogeneous colors. When it comes to just general dirt streaking, initially I tried the black oil paint, but I found it a bit difficult to control. In the end, I just used enamel Tamiya XF1. It was far easier to control, and with solvent or turpentine it was able to streak quite easily. For the rust streaks, I use what I usually use, that's AK Interactive Rust Streaks. It's also an enamel-based wash. One difficulty with this camouflage scheme, but it's not enough of a difficulty for me to change it, so don't worry about that, is that the conning tower with this very detailed and intricate pattern, especially with all these little black dots, the speckles, makes it very difficult to see the weathering on it. So for the conning tower, I'm going to go for more of a general discoloration instead of specific streaks. That's just because if I do put the streak on, it's going to be basically impossible to see it anyway. For all of these streaking effects, the process is exactly the same. I start with a very fine brush and place either a dot or a very thin line of the paint. After the paint has dried, I wet a brush with turpentine and use that to blend in and shorten or lengthen that line of paint. If at any point I decide that I don't like the effect that's been created, I take a cotton bud, dip it in turpentine, and use that to wipe the paint off of the model. That leaves me with a nice clean surface where I can reattempt the streaking effect. Once I was happy with the state of the streaking effects, I seal them in with yet another layer of glass varnish. Just point out these layers of glass varnish are very thin. It's really just to fix these details in place. Anyway, once this layer of gloss varnish has dried, I then apply yet another layer of black panel line. However, this time it has been thinned 2 parts solvent to 1 part panel line. The primary purpose for this layer of panel line is to try and tie the various colors together and to help bring out the finer details. After applying that very thin black panel line, I wasn't very happy with the state of the striping on the side of the top of the ballast tanks. It had become very difficult to spot, and there also wasn't a waterline, which made the ending look a bit awkward, kind of just stopped in the middle of nowhere. So I decided to create a waterline and then to enhance the striping effect. To create the waterline, I used flexible masking tape. That's this very thick variety of tape, not because it's flexible, but because it would create a corner between the side of the tape and the top of the ballast tank that I could push oil paint into, and then remove the excess with a cotton bud dipped in turpentine. By doing that, when the masking tape is removed, a very little bit of paint would have been trapped in the corner, and that creates a little waterline. After doing a little bit of touch up to the waterline where the paint had seeped underneath the masking tape, I sealed it in with yet another layer of gloss varnish. Now, with a clear marking for where the waterline should be on the side of these ballast tanks, I reapply the striping effect to the top of the ballast tanks. This time I'm sure to keep it quite apparent. I don't blend in the lines so much that they effectively become invisible. The last thing that I want to do is to create some rust chips around the bow. This is not something that I typically do on my models. I don't have chipping fluid, although I think I should get some and try it at some point. So to create these rust colored chips, I'm using the same paint that I used to create the rust streaks. Once I'm happy with the rust chips, the final clear coat is applied. This is Tamiya XF86 Matte Clear. This is an acrylic varnish. After the matte varnish has dried, the last effect can be applied, and that is some highlighting that I do with white weathering powder. Using this white weathering powder is very simple. What I do is use the soft brush end of the applicator to pick up a small amount of the weathering powder, and then I gently brush it over the entire model. Be careful not to put on too much, it is very easy to overdo it. But if you do overdo it, you can reduce the effect by spraying the model with Mr. Rapid Thinner directly, just not so much that you strip the paint. With that, this model is now fully weathered, and quite heavily weathered at that. Certainly a lot more weathered than I would usually weather a boat. I'm not sure how I feel about this weathering. Obviously it's a lot heavier than my usual weathering, but the point of this model is to do things differently, so I don't think that's a bad thing. I also don't feel the need to strip the model and repaint it, so I suppose that's a good thing. What I'm going to do is continue to build the model and leave the weathering as is. I'll see how I feel about it later on in the build. In the meantime, let me know what you think I should do. Should I keep this weathering or should I change it? Leave me a message in the comments. If you don't want to wait for the scheduled release of videos and want to watch them when they're uploaded, consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button below. If you would like to support the channel, like and subscribe. And as always, questions are welcome in the comments. Thank you for watching. Cheers.